How's it going, everyone? We are back for the Game Junction Podcast, and we are here for episode 55 this week. And we've got a couple of new faces here, and we've got Nick from the video game Kraken. How's it going?
Hi, good and you?
Doing good. And then we've got a stray that popped in here earlier. We got Millennial Collector Ohio. How's it going, man?
Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Sunday.
Yeah, so pretty happy to have both of you in here, and it's Thomas's first time on this podcast, so this is going to be a good time. And I want to go ahead and shout out our sponsor for the week, and we've got TimelessGamer.net again. TimelessGamer.net exists to inform and enlighten video game enthusiasts of all kinds, and we picked out a pretty cool article here this week that they have on their website. It's Anyone Can Be a Hero in Hero, and if you know about this game, this is a game for the Atari 2600, and they talk about this on here. Looks like talking about the 5200 version, ColecoVision, and Commodore 64 as well. So definitely go check out their website. It's a great resource for all things video games, and they're constantly updating things there as well as their social media. And so we'll go ahead and take that off there and kind of get started. Nick, let's learn a little bit about you for the viewers watching. Tell us a little about yourself and about the video game Kraken.
Sure. First of all, I'll just want to apologize to all the watcher. I'm French Canadian, so I have a French Canadian accent, and I got a tooth removed 2 days ago, so I'm getting used to speak with one tooth less. So yeah, I'm Nick. I'm the founder of Video Game Kraken, or I am the Video Game Kraken. I'm 40-something years old. Been gamer since almost I was born. I think my first time I experienced gaming was about 5 or 6 years when I was 5 or 6, and I never let go of gaming since then. I studied to become a video game developer, so that was my dream. When I was little, I was drawing like extra level for Super Mario Bros. and stuff, any game I could think of. And I don't want to say sadly, I did study in that, but I end up in cybersecurity, so I'm doing something else I love. But video game was always my passion, so I started collecting about maybe 15 years ago. It's a strange thing about me. I collect all my youth different stuff. I collected rock, coins, stamp, everything. And I was passionate for a video game, but I never made the link in my head to collect video game until like 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And when I started, I said, "Oh, like there's not a lot of information out there on." I just wanted a list of all the console. In my head, there was like 75 of them, and that's it.
Right.
I don't know if you remember. There's a ton of them right now, but there was like a meme of like a huge like a TV stand with maybe 20 console under it, all connected, and it was my dream. Like man cave, and so I want to achieve that in my life. So I started to just trying to figure out what's the list of all the console out there, and this is where I stumble up. Oh my God, there's so much console that I don't know about, and my like collector instinct just jump in and say I want them all, and I started collecting on that. And since there was not a lot of information, I said, well, let's like put all my research on one place, and I ended up creating the Video Game Kraken website based on that. So that's my all life stories in like 30 seconds from a video game perspective.
And that was it. That was his whole life.
Yeah.
So, what was the first console that you got or that started the love?
I know that question would come. It's that little guy. It's called the Pomtex PVS or Super Micro. You can see it right here. It's a US developed console. And it was the guy who first imported the Game and Watch, who said,
Oh, okay.
"Well, I can create my own console," and he started working on that. That was a huge flop. They have gone bankrupt before releasing it, and then the company that made the games, or there's just three games for them, they're the one, or where the bank called them and say, "We got the stock. Can you like try to liquidate it?" So they did, but they had to build that thing which is called a light box that you plug behind, because it's so awful trying to see, because it's like a see-through games that you put on there, and but you have to be like directly across the sunlight to kind of see anything. So anyway, it's really a crappy console. But when I started collecting, I stumbled on this one and I said, yeah, like there's no information whatsoever nowhere. So I started finding people that work at that company, making an interview with them, and like building like well, my first article basically, and at the end I decided to create the video game Kraken based on I need a place to put my stuff. But that was that little guy that started out. It's really ugly and flimsy, and it's probably the worst console in the world, but still I love it.
I don't know if it's the worst. Played some pretty bad ones.
Yeah, it looks like it's held up though for its age.
Yeah, it's I
So
don't
what's
think
this
I
one
haven't
called?
been playing. This one is called Super Micro or PVS. So the original name was PVS, and when they rebranded it, it was called a Super Micro. Um,
Very interesting. Oh, Palmtex. Yeah, okay. I've heard the Palmtex name. Probably just from the brand though. This was like their take it a video game system, I take it, or were they a video game company? I
it's their it was the name there they were operating under when they imported the Game and Watch. So there's a few
Okay.
pamphlets
Okay.
out there with their name and the like the list of all the Game and Watch. So you might have seen that there. But aside from the PVS and stuff, they have gone bankrupt just after.
Wow. Crazy. Huh. That's very interesting. It's constantly finding out about new games, new systems, new accessories. I think accessories are the biggest thing for me because it's like a rabbit hole for me. I love finding like all the weird stuff that you can do with video game systems or whatever that were it wasn't intended to originally do. And um, I think my love of that started the first time I used probably a TV tuner, which would have been for probably the
Game
Game
Gear,
Gear would
yeah.
have been first, but I eventually got one for the Game Boy Color, GBA, essentially everything. DS. I know you've got one now in the box, Thomas, a DS TV tuner. There's a 3DS one. All of them. All of them had the TV tuners going on, but also the browsers for like the DS had the browser cart and there, I liked that. I was like, oh, you could go online on the DS. It was never really, originally intended to do so, and you've got this cart to now access the internet. I thought that was fascinating. I've always loved all of that, so
Yeah, I love
it's cool
accessories
stuff.
too, but there's just too much of them. I'm trying to focus on the one thing. I'm trying really hard right now just not to stumble on vintage PC as well. Because
Yeah.
yeah, the first we were talking about the first generation before the show, but the second generation of hardware, there was a fine line between microcomputer and video game. I mean, there is like computer add-on for the Atari 2600,
Hmm.
the APF MP
The Atom.
1000, the Coleco. Yeah, it's pretty much all the video game of that era, the Intellivision, they have like a computer add-in. So there was a really mixed line between the two, and there's like some pretty good like gaming computer from that era that
Yeah.
I try not to get, but I still have a few. But so peripheral, it's the same thing. I try not to go too crazy on that because it's like it's a rabbit hole that I will never get out of.
Yeah, no, it definitely, all that stuff can be a rabbit hole for sure, but it's very intriguing whether it's something I would want to grab or not. I still love to because a lot of the how do I put it this way? A lot of the first generation stuff I'm not particularly interested in playing. Like the 2600 was my first console, but I'm not as nostalgic for that console as I am like other ones. Like it really started with the NES was where I like kind of blossomed. I guess the Game Boy first, but the Game Boy and the NES just blossomed. I mean, that was it. Took over my life. It was everything from the moment I had my own Game Boy and was playing the NES, and then Pokemon came out, and it was off to the races. So
Yeah, it's about the same. I'm old enough to have seen first generation console, but I was too young to be fully enjoy them. But anyway, I mean it's just Pong, right? It's variation of Pong,
yes, yep,
so
yep,
it
yep.
get boring pretty fast. My first one was a ColecoVision, and was
Okay.
given to me by my godfather, and but the NES was really the one that got me hooked for sure. I mean, ColecoVision was fine, but at that time there was no end to the game. You could play for hours. Just the difficulty level would increase a bit, but at some point it would just stay the same. You could
Yeah,
play the car game called Turbo for the ColecoVision, like for 4 hours if you want. There was just no ending. It's always repeating. So
yep,
the NES was the first time that we got a beginning and a hand of the game. So it was like something new. RPG for me was that's my favorite gaming genre,
okay.
and it's first time I was able to experience RPG, and then I fall into the dark side of the computers and the
Yeah, I love retro computer stuff too. I'm a big fan of all that, but like it's a thing that I have to completely keep myself from because space. There's a lot of pieces to most of that.
yeah.
So it's a lot harder than just having a small, NES or Genesis or something, and a bunch of those set up. It's completely different. It's just a different situation.
Yeah,
Um,
it
so
is something that I totally underestimated when I started collecting console was the space that it took.
yeah,
So you could fit like a whole NES collection on one small part of a wall, and you can probably just display 10 console on there. I think I got more than I'm closing up on 400s. So yeah, I got boxes full of console that they're just in box, i- hidden in various part of the house because I don't have enough space to display them probably at this time. But I'm working on something to be able to have them outside the box because it doesn't make any sense to have just stuff and not enjoy it at
yeah,
least visually.
yep. No, I agree with you. Definitely agree. So, Thomas, what's your take on all of that?
Yeah, home computers to me were just kind of uh, at school. We played a lot of Oregon Trail, um, but home console to me was the NES and on. So 8-bit, Super Nintendo forward. So my collecting doesn't have a lot of PC and bigger stuff like that.
Have you
I
guys
th-
ever switched to, or you stayed with console all the way from the NES to right now? No, like for me, I fed NES, SNES, but after that, when the first 3D console appeared, I found that the PC 3D was way better at the time, and I like kind of switch on like just Windows. It was not even Windows; it was DOS at the time. But anyway, I switched it like on a PC and started like gaming on more like dungeon crawler games type of games, and
sure.
it took me like a generation. I skipped completely Nintendo 64 and PlayStation, and I came back with the PlayStation 2 when I thought the graphic have really improved. But the
Good
first
for you.
generation of 3D, I find it awful, and it's not because I like bashing on N64. I got a huge collection on that, but it's really just I don't find that there's great games, but the visual, even for the PlayStation, it's too blocky for me.
PS1, most I would say most stuff on it doesn't hold up the best. But it has phenomenal games. It's got a crazy good library of games, especially RPGs. I mean,
Yeah,
that
Yeah,
library is just insane.
you're missing a lot with the RPGs. Being an RPG fan with the PS1 stuff, I know the N64 may have soured a little bit, but trust me, the PS1 stuff,
A little.
RPGs. I play a lot of my older stuff, and I get rid of it if I don't like it.
yeah.
A lot of my PS1 RPGs stay in the collection because even in 2023, the RPGs still hold up.
If
Yeah, I
if you have a few suggestions, I'm really open to them.
yeah, you got some suggestions for him.
Yeah.
Xenogears is a good one for sure, and Legend of Dragoon.
Right now they're doing a lot of remakes, so I'm catching up on old games that they just remade more recently. But I mean, there's just too much game at some point. There's
Yeah,
especially RPGs when you have to invest like hundreds of hours in one game. I try to be picky on the one I'm gonna take, but sure, if you have any suggestion, send them to me. I'll be more than happy to
Yeah.
try it out.
Working designs in the PS1
Yeah.
era made some gems. And just that Lunar and Lunar 2, that's probably 100 hours right there.
I think I've said this before, and I feel very strongly about this. I think the PS1 graphics out of that generation and the 3D done with that, as far as all the polygons, it did not hold up. I think the Saturn held up better, and I think the N64 visually held up better. There's not as many of the. I mean, you've seen the meme of Laura Croft, and that's relevant right now, which we're going to bring up because the remastering 1 through 3, and but you've seen the meme of Laura Croft, but that's serious. Like if you look at the comparison with like the Saturn version of Tomb Raider versus like the PS1 version, like it just visually looks better. The polygons aren't as pointy, and the edges are so sharp on the PS1. I forget what the term is for that, but it just doesn't look good to the eye. It makes it very hard to play some of those games today, but I'll get roasted in the comments for that one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I know the N64, it's a bit foggy if you look at it, but a lot of people like that, especially because it's rounded the edges and everything. But I'm not like those. There's a lot of people who, there's a whole website based on 480p versus 720p, and then they got like all those special connector to connect their whole console and RGB in the perfect way. I honestly don't see the difference most of the time, and they show me the two images and say, well, for me they're the same. I don't. I mean, I see there's a few variation, but I cannot honestly say that the first one is better than the second or vice versa. I know that there's people more like probably more visual. I don't know how you can say that the visual of someone is better than someone else, but they have like problem with older generation and like the upscaling. For me,
Yeah.
you could just plug with probably any connector, and I say, well, it's fine, it's playable.
Yeah, I get that. I think that's a great point of view to stick with because I'm not that way. I'm very much, I've got to have component on
Really?
most of those, not all of them. I mean, like the NES, I can plug and play with composite cables all day long. Shoot, when I was younger, I had the Model 2, so originally had it up with RF. So
Yeah.
you really had that
Oh, yeah,
gain and
Well,
stuff going on in there.
yeah, RF is a problem in itself, but
Yeah, it is.
there's a lot of leaking and everything. But from I mean from the component, and there's upscaling, and people are
Yeah.
like really picky on what's they're gonna use and what type of upscaling. For me, it's all look the same, and
Sure,
it's
sure.
not a judgment call. It's just for my lazy eyes. It doesn't
Yeah.
look that different, and it's lucky for me because it's really expensive if you want to have everything
Yes, it is.
connected in the best quality. So it's probably there that I save a bit of money and I can reinject on the other console.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Here's the way I look at it. Having a certain input is not going to like prevent me from playing the game. Like I'm not going to be one of the snobs. It's like, oh, it's not component. I'm not playing it at all. Like that's not me. But I do enjoy. I think I enjoy mostly just the process of doing all that. I enjoyed like tracking down a PBM. I enjoyed,
Yeah,
with the retro. I have a retro tank, 5X Pro. I don't use as much as I'd like to, but like plugging in component for a system is good for me. I don't have to have everything RGB modded. But I do enjoy that upscaling, and I enjoy trying to get the best image possible because I think it's kind of fun. Like
it,
trying to tune in an image for your particular situation.
yeah,
And
it
yeah,
is. Um, I don't have a PVM yet. It's something that it's on my my wish list. But I'll be honest. I think those games were designed to run on our like old CRT
they
television,
were. Yep.
and they don't really care. And some games like Sonic, the waterfall in Sonic, they're using like a artifact in the CRT to make that like flashing under, and you lose that when you use emulation. I will probably fix right now, but um, so playing if I got a choice on playing on like an old CRT or a new television set, I'll choose the old CRT for the old console. I know it's less visually appealing, but it's just the way I am. But to be honest, there's so much remake that is made of all the old games that I end up buying the the remake and playing them on a Switch or whatever.
Yeah, no, I definitely I agree with you. It's composite is RF is a problem for me. Like I thought it's pretty wild that the Jaguar shipped with
Yeah,
RF, which is crazy. But the TurboGrafx, which is a 16-bit console, but it was still kind of a little strange that had RF as well as the only option. Unless you got the turbo booster and stuff like that. But I don't want to play Jaguar in RF. But
yeah.
other than that, like it's yeah, I could play with whatever.
I don't want to play Jaguar. Period.
Dang,
I agree.
Well,
it's brutal.
no, but there's a few good game on there, but it's not the best console. Especially the problem with the Jaguar, it was so complicated to code for that all the coder they just used the I forgot the name of the chip, like the same chip that they have in the Genesis 80 something something. So probably someone in the comment will pull
Brian.
out their answer. That's that chip, and because that's the easy, like it's the easiest chip to program for, or programmer were used to that one. So they was only using like a small capability of the Jaguar.
Yeah.
So just a few games that use the old package, and those games are amazing. Like Alien vs Predator is really good,
Oh yeah.
but most of the game they're just like using the simple CPU, and it just look crappy in the end.
You don't like Cybermorph?
What a good game!
What about Brian in the chat is asking? I want to know your opinion on checkered flag. Oh man, I'll never live that one up. No, so we were doing a video, we were filming a video at a game store, and I said, okay, this is what I said. I said that it's not the worst game on the console. But they made a meme of me saying it was like the best game ever, and then like put the actual scores underneath, like it got like a 2 out of 10 and uh, all that stuff, and I'll never live it down. That's gonna follow me for the rest of my life. Check your
Well,
flag, man.
I'll need to pull out that That meme, I've never seen it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
greatest game ever.
I have to pull it out. I've got it saved on my phone.
Greatest.
It's pretty funny stuff though. um, but yeah, so Thomas, you have not gotten to come on the show yet. Let's learn a little about you for everybody because we've not really had a sort of conversation where you can just, you can tell a little bit about yourself, like all that stuff. We've not really gotten to have that opportunity yet, other than streams. So,
Actually, I was on the podcast like 20.
well, yeah, okay, you was on before, yes, but it's since then with everything, being on the channel and all that stuff, you've not really gotten to get any more in depth on yourself and stuff like that.
I'm Thomas, also the Millennial Collector Ohio. Also a late 30, early 40 something collector. So mostly retro. I also collect a lot of the new stuff. Switch, PS5, PS4. I have 2 young children that are in gaming. My son's just started streaming recently, like
Oh,
online.
nice.
It's all private, so just all to his own YouTube channel.
That's awesome.
I'm located in Central Ohio, so I see Brandon a lot. Big into collecting, go to thrift stores, pawn shops, yard sales, try to get as many deals as possible. Trying to collect in 2023 is not the easiest thing to do. Everything's super expensive, hard to find. So I just keep every single weekend just pounding the pavement, just trying.
What's your greatest find in either thrift store or yard sale?
Actually, I was at a pawn shop and got a whole bunch of PS2 games for $2 to $3 a piece. But it was all the Armored Core games, obscure 1 and 2. There was even a couple like Xbox games in there, like it was Dino Crisis 3 and Silent Hill 2 were like the 2 Xbox games I got. But that was a big score.
Wow.
You find crazy stuff all the time, though. He's always finding, really like oddball stuff or stuff that sometimes me and you have never even seen before, which is really cool to like learn along the way. But you're always finding crazy stuff. I'll just see these like pickups that I just don't. It like directly where I'm at locally, just like that's not a thing anymore. We lost our flea market, unfortunately. But this spot that especially with the thrift stores and like the flea market and the way that it's kind of set up where people just get their stuff and throw it on the ground, you can just dig through it. That style of flea market, you just find everything, things you don't want to find too.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Yeah, this year I wanted to go to a lot of yard sales, but it was always raining or didn't have the time or out of town.
And is it the same thing in Ohio? I know for myself, I do a yard sale all summer, but I'm there at like 8 o'clock and say, "Oh, you're the third person to ask me for a video game," and there's too much people doing that. I still end up finding some things, but it's not what it used to be.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's become really, really hard. But I try to go after the ones that aren't advertised, the ones that don't say they have video games, things like that, and try not to be pushy because that's the worst. Yeah.
It is that way here now. It's just crazy how much things have shifted. But yeah, you can be there, right as soon as they open up at 8, and people have already drove by before they even open up at the yard sale to ask if they got video games, which is not the greatest thing in the world. It's kind of a bummer. I remember I won't do a yard sale anymore. I won't like have a yard sale, but we used to have them. We've had them since I was a kid, and I did one maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. Was getting rid of like a lot of house type stuff, and they had came by. I don't know. We were setting up 6:30, something like that. We already had like 4 or 5 people come by, cruising through our little housing division here and checking out if there's any yard sales, asking them, and it's like 7 o'clock in the morning or something, and it's just mind blowing that things have changed so much. People just didn't care. Those Game Boy games weren't worth a quarter. Nobody cared. Nobody cared at all.
I'm lucky. My wife, she's collecting like a weird medical device and antique. So we do yard sale together, and we stop at every yard sale. And I'm not the one asking each time, "Do you have a video game?" I'm just look at what's on the table, and that's it.
Yeah.
But like Thomas said, I do pretty much all the one, and that sometimes you just find something at the end of the day or during the day. But again, 5 years ago, having a huge video games pile that was not uncommon. Right now, when you find that it's like dog games on DS for $10 and
or they want $1 million.
Yeah. Because they read somewhere that video games are worth money now.
Yeah, I have a picture on my phone from a thrift store where it was a Nintendo, Zapper, 2 controllers, Duck Hunt, and maybe one other game, $399.99.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was excited because I thought it was $39, and I was like, "Oh, that was really clean for under $50." And then I saw it, and I was like, "No."
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember. Reminds me of the Diamond Collection Disney tapes. Do you remember the whole deal with that, where people are like, you've got thousands in your shed or your attic if you have these, and they're now you can't even get rid of them for 50 cents. They were saying the same stuff. They were like, this one's worth $300 and this one's worth $75, and meanwhile there's millions of these tapes out there. They were a regular printed tape, and it's the same sort of thing. It's craziness. It's wild in the collecting world. Retro Matt said, a buddy I work with hits a lot of yard and garage sales during the spring and summer. Usually finds some awesome stuff. Keeps me in the loop. So that's cool to have a friend that you can stay connected with if you're video game hunting or going to yard sales, and one of you can hit up a yard sale and the other can hit up another one in a different part of town, and can get all of them.
I recruited my mom. She's doing a lot of not a lot, but there's like a thrift store near her house, and she asked me, "What does a video game look like?" It's it's kind of like a DVD box most of the time, but I'll send you a picture, and now whatever she goes there, I know I showed her what section are the video game, and she sent me an email, like a picture with it's all Wii games, the sport Wii games every time. But I mean, she's so happy, and they find it good. It's cool to have our mom doing thrifting for me. So good.
Yeah,
I kind of have that too. I have my dad looking for me, and I have friends that will pop me up and send me stuff because they know I'm into video games.
Yeah.
Dang, Thomas, I didn't know you were such a nerd.
Yeah.
No, I kind of sort of got the same thing. Like everybody I pretty much know knows that I'm into video games and stuff. So every now and then somebody will send me something or sort of keep an eye out and stuff, which is cool. It's cool to have that because you never know what they could find, and it's good stuff. Retro Matt said it's been great. It's just I'm not finding the games I'm most interested in. Finally got a copy of Mega Man 7. Never had seen that one in stores until this week. Huh. That's pretty cool stuff. Yeah, so Nick, what do you say are like, I don't know, some of your top consoles, like retro wise, what you're going back to now, and like is there anything modern that you're playing right now? Systems you like better?
Sure. Ritual wise, I won't be too fancy. TurboGrafx, it's probably one of my favorite.
Me too.
It's that console that I was just seeing on the Game Pro when I was young. I got it way later. When I was collecting, I play like once or twice, but I always had that image of it's the console that I want, even if it's
Yes.
less powerful than other. But and it didn't disappoint. There's a ton of great gem on that. So since I didn't have the chance to play a lot of it, I'm still excited to play that. Super NES, always a classic. I'm a big fan of 2D. Basically, everything that is 2D it's my jam. NES is still good. Genesis, that the 16-bit era, it's my favorite. I would love more than Neo Geo if it's not just all
Yeah.
fighting games. I'm not good at fighting games. It's not that I don't like it. I'm just not
Yeah.
good at fighting games. There's like 99% of the games are fighting games, so I don't enjoy Neo Geo as much as I would like. But that would be those would be my console.
So you don't like King of Fighters? Is that what you're saying right now?
Which of the 25 versions?
Yes.
There's a lot. There's like like 8 of them just on the AES. I want to say something like that. There's a lot.
Yeah.
For sure. No, I would love to. I guess now I wouldn't care quite as much, but like Neo Geo collecting, obviously we all know like crazy expensive, just unattainable. Which is cool to have. Things like the mini system that they have, which doesn't show a ton of the library, but there's like shows some of the standouts. It's cool to have like we need more accessible ways to play like the AES and MVS games. I think would something like another mini system, or like I'd be up for a collection for Neo Geo on one of the modern platforms, to be honest with you. So I had a way to play those because I really like King of Fighters. But yeah, it is definitely a lot of fighting games for sure.
Yeah, they tried with the Neo Geo Gold or the X,
Yes, yeah.
and it was like a complete failure.
The emulation was terrible.
Yeah, and I got excited last year when they announced that they would release 3 new console, or 2 or 3 years ago, but it just ended up being the mini arcade, which is fine.
Yeah.
They're great, but I was hoping for. I'm more collecting cartridge-based consoles, so I was
Sure.
hoping like for new cartridge-based console or something like that. But yeah, I'm with you. They should release, and I would like to see a collection of non-fighting games because they got great non-fighting games. The golf.
Oh yeah, the golf's great.
Is great. Nam, what's the name of the expensive one? Magical Chase.
Which one? Yeah, but that's TurboGrafx, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
No, there's another one, like a shmup on there.
There's more than one that's pretty
Yeah.
expensive. I'm not sure which one. Let me look up.
I would recognize the cover art, but the name is.
Yeah, I
not-
can't
not-
remember. I know what you're talking about. I saw one. It might not be that particular game, but there was a game that sold that had like something like 50. There's like under 50 out there, and it sold for over $200,000 or something crazy. Let's see, 15 best. I'm not sure which one it is that you're thinking of exactly, but I know Magical Chase and TurboGrafx. That's crazy.
yeah,
Prices
so-
on that is wild. I saw one at Game On Expo in Arizona, and I was just, yeah, that's crazy. He had like 24 or something on it, and it sold. Craziness.
Talk about expensive cartridges. Those Neo Geo cartridges are expensive. Holy crap.
Yeah, and at some point the Japanese version were less expensive, and you could play them if you mod your Neo Geo in English.
Yeah.
But now people caught up on that, and they're as expensive. I was lucky enough to go to Japan like once, and so I grabbed everything that I could put my hand on. So I got maybe 6 games, but they're all fighting games, like cheap Samurai Showdown and stuff like that. They're like $30, but still, I mean, $30 for a Neo Geo games, it was not that bad.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. So I was It's what was this one here that's super expensive? Showing a couple of the Metal Slugs. Most expensive Neo Geo AES game. Whoa, I don't know why it's got Neo Turf Masters there at the top, but apparently
Yeah, it's really expensive.
I didn't realize it. I knew it was expensive, but I didn't know it was that much.
I didn't
Wow.
I
The
didn't look at
loose
the
price
price
is
recently.
$14,000.
Wow.
That's loose
I thought that
for a golf game.
the metal slug series was pretty expensive as well.
Yeah. Stakes winner is the second most expensive. This is all according to price charting, by the way, so take it as you will. But it looks like I think that's it looks like a horse racing game. Yeah, it's a. I'm not sure. I haven't played that one, but interesting. This
You can
prices
buy a
are-
horse for that amount.
Probably.
Yeah,
I think the Neo Geo CD, that's probably the best way
yeah,
to play it. They're cheap. I think you probably can use copies, and they have the mod where you could just replace and the OD and
yep,
plug in a SD card. So the loading time seems to be acceptable right now. So because I'm playing on I played Metal Slug 2, I think on that. I think the loading between level was like 2 minutes. It was abysmal.
yeah. That's craziness. Brian was saying in the chat. He said, "Yeah, MVS carts used to be the cheap way to play Neo Geo. Still not as bad as AES carts, but they have gotten a lot more expensive over
Yeah.
the years. Yeah, even those multi-cart MVS carts and stuff like that. I know for a while, like those had shot up, and of course, you've got like the Terra Onion options and all that stuff for the Neo Geo now, which is great. But even that, I think that's $600 all in for the MVS and AES versions. I want to say those Terra Onions are like $600. It's just expect to drop money if you care about getting into anything SNK essentially. Oh man. So what are some of your favorite video game series?
Um, like RPG wise, if I'm going really old school, would be the Eyes of the Beholder series. It's like a whole dungeon crawler, wizardry. The Final Fantasy series on the SNES was also amazing. Um, Platformer, I think Super Mario World is hard to beat. So nothing too inventive here. Um, Trying to see. I love. I, I I- I'm not like I don't have a lot of like favorite game. I love pretty much everything. Aside those
Same.
like those few titles that I mentioned that I keep coming back, but I love just to pop something new in the console and trying something. I think what's missing right now is that with all those games option that we have, I used to have like a main machine,
Yeah.
but as soon as you don't like a game, you just switch back to another one. You don't take the time to say, okay, I invested time and money,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna try it out. When we're young, you would rent a game for the weekend, then you were stuck with that game. So whenever it
Yep.
was good or bad, you would play that game for the whole 2 days.
Right.
And right now it's there's so many games that you just switch games all the time, and it's not good.
Yep.
Where go to the next one. So I try to when I pick up a game and say I'll give it an hour and try to see if I like it or not. And I found out that there's a lot of games that I love. But yeah, those again, I'm more RPG. So coming back to your question, that would be that. And more recently, all the you all seen the Baldur's Gate 3
Yes.
games that are started. It's amazing. So it came from the developer of Divinity, which also amazing series.
Yeah.
And it didn't answer your question on modern platform, but I love the Switch. I love
So,
PS5 or Xbox. It's the same for me. They have a few exclusive, but I don't love one more than the other. I got the
Yep.
PS5, but it's solely because that's the one I was able to put my hands on, and I wanted to play the remake of Final Fantasy VII.
Yep.
That I didn't play on the PS4, so I wanted to play on the PS5. But that's the sole reason. What about
Yeah.
you guys?
No, I'm actually very relatable with you were talking about the Switch. I love the Switch. I think it's one of the most versatile systems ever. It's got a crazy expansive library. But as far as like PS5 and Series X, I'm right there with you on that. I don't really have a favorite of the two. Just whatever I can play the game on. Like some stuff comes to the Game Pass, and that's cool. You don't have to pay the $60-$70 if it's on there. Great. If not, if it's something I want to play and pick up physically, I'll probably buy it on the PS5. I The Series X is for some reason just became the sort of digital platform with Game Pass. I think that's just organically happened because that's pretty much what I play on there is anything that comes on that. But
Mhm.
like I am a physical collector. I've gotten a little less crazy about it here recently, which I'm happy about being in that place. But if I'm buying it physically, it's going to be for probably the Switch. If I can't get it for the Switch, it'll be the PS5. But retro stuff, TurboGrafx 16. That's my favorite 16-bit era system. But I also love, I can go back to the NES super easily. I love the GameCube. I seem to, the GameCube didn't have a big library, but when I had the GameCube when it was new, I didn't have a ton of games. So I'm always going through. I have the PicoBoot ODE in my GameCube, so that's giving me the option to play, some games I probably wouldn't have bought or played before, because now I don't have to buy them. So like, why not just take the minute to try them, which is pretty cool. Like with the EverDrives, because I'll find myself doing that on Game Boy and GBA and even TurboGrafx. Like so many of those, when I had a TurboGrafx, I had it, a few years after it came out. We got it from my rental store when they sold off the unit, and I had 4 games for it. So until 10 years ago, I had never played any more games. And like, if you add in like the PC Engine, there's a massive library there and a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff on there. So for me, like the EverDrives, I go to a lot of the, pretty standard systems, Super Nintendo, and I'll check out stuff on 64 that I've never got to play, and whatever's accessible for me or, easy to play for a period of time is kind of how I do it. RPGs are very hard to get the time to play, and as we were talking about before the show started, they require a lot of time. So 100-hour RPGs is not something I can do all the time. That's like it sucks because I love RPGs, and by nature that's like probably my favorite genre. But they just take so much time.
Yeah.
So I have to be super selective with those now, and I need to play. I still got to play Final Fantasy 16. I'm pretty excited about that Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. That looks really cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that. It's going to be awesome. But what about you, Thomas?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for that Final Fantasy reboot. But I'm more of a physical collector. So the current gen stuff, I kind of made a decision with PlayStation. I don't really collect or play any Xbox for the current stuff. Just because money-wise, space-wise, I kind of dedicated for the current stuff is going to be PlayStation. But now the Switch and Nintendo, I kind of don't even group in there because Nintendo is always going to be evergreen for me. I'm always going to have a Nintendo system forever, no matter what they have, because they're going to have their first-party stuff, the Zeldas, the Marios.
Well, hey, hang on. You was just talking about selling the Wii U because you said it wasn't good.
Yeah, I'm going to sell the Wii U. But I'm going to keep my Wii, which also plays GameCube. There just isn't a big library for the Wii U that I like to play.
Sure.
Any of the peripheral stuff I could play on the Switch, or I could play on the Wii.
Yeah, the Wii U is a good system that was not well exploited. I mean, some of the best version of games, or when they're using the second screen as like a permanent map, or
Arkham City was like that.
Yeah, Watchdog.
Watch Dogs, Zombie
what's the-
U.
so they have a good system. The
Yeah.
what I found sad is that they do have the support for GameCube in there. It's just not activated. So if you're hack your Wii U, you can enable that and play any, not physically though, but you can play the image of any GameCube game. That would have been awesome if they would have kept the ability
you
to play game.
imagine?
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah,
Crazy.
I do understand that they have a smaller libraries. All the good game has been remade at the Switch anyway, so there's not a lot left for the Wii U. I do still go for a full set on the Wii U because it's the smallest set to complete. So I'm gonna keep mine, but I do understand.
Yeah, my Wii
no,
U
I'm
collection
hanging
is
on.
going to be small. It's going to be like 2 Zelda games, and that's
Well,
about it.
wait. Why are you keeping games if you're selling the system?
Yeah, just in case.
No, I love the Wii U, especially when it was new, man. That Virtual Console was crazy good. They had the community, like their social media on there, Miiverse. That was cool when it was, um, you know, current and going back to it. Like I, it's so weird because like things like Breath of the Wild, I prefer to play on the Wii U. I like having that map. I like, having quick access to all that stuff. And there's so many of those games that were like that just worked better. Like Lego City Undercover, that's a hidden gem if you haven't played it, and it's really good on there. You get to see the full Grand Theft Auto style map on there, and I think it's great. But yeah, a small library, it makes it hard to recommend for somebody that might only be able to pick up a certain amount of games, or have they can't have like a massive collection and stuff like that. I would probably recommend to not collect for it personally. So,
And they're kind of hard to find anywhere. I mean, at least me locally, yard sale wise, I think I can probably count on the ends, the figure of one hand, the number of times or two ends that I stumble on Wii U in the wild, where I could buy it. It's like non-existent. Nobody bought the Wii U, so yeah, you'll find a lot of Just Dance though, but
Yeah.
for the rest,
yeah,
hard to find.
It's hard to
Yeah.
find ones that are in really good shape
Yeah.
too, because I found this problem with just the regular Wii stuff. It being a lot of kids that played a lot of stuff, they damage the discs. The Wii U discs don't seem to hold up very well.
No, you're right.
the
Like, I
Wii
don't
U
get it.
discs. I've never
Yeah.
encountered a problem with them. What's the issue?
I've
They're
had a
just a
couple
standard
that look.
Blu-ray.
I have a couple that look really good, and they just one little scratch, they're done.
Really?
Even after a
I can't even
resurface.
remember seeing a scratched Wii U disc. The Blu-ray discs are harder to scratch and leave. Like, I don't know. Maybe I should pay more attention. I don't. That's crazy. That's good to know, though. I wasn't aware of that. It's crazy stuff. Yeah, I'll tell you what. You also never see or white Wii U's. Never see them. That's what I had at launch. It was like it wasn't as good of a model because it didn't have as much memory. That's it. That's the only difference, other than the color. And that's the one I got, and I'm still trying to find one, even though it's worse than the black one technically. You just don't see them nearly as much as the black ones, which is like the opposite for the Wii. Like you see the white ones a lot more obviously than the black ones. So.
Not sure if you can see them. There's all my stuff that I need to sort out, but at right there, between the two BDs, there's a stack of all Wii U boxes. So at the top, that's the white one.
Oh,
It's the
nice.
only one I have. All the other model they were black. So yeah, it's like the cheap version.
Yep.
They're 16 gig or 32 gigs.
8 gigabyte for the
8 gig
white
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yep. 32
Yeah,
for the black.
Yeah, the original white one was like that 8 gig, small, cheap. Now it's hard to find.
Hey, look, I was poor. Okay,
Yeah.
I was fresh out of high school when that came out. Oh man, what we got here? Retro Matt said the Miiverse was great. I do miss that. That was such a cool feature that they shortened the life of that pretty quick. It it wasn't around for very long. Like even when the Wii U was before the Switch came out, like they canceled it maybe like a year before the Switch came out or something like that. And I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, you could go in there and connect with all the games, kind of what you have in PlayStation, and Xbox now, but you could like draw, but you'd see all these crazy drawings people would have in there. It was super cool. It was a different time. They said they didn't want to babysit that. Yeah, it was. People put some wild things in there too. I think that probably is why they shut that service down relatively quick. So I'm sure that some kids saw some things they probably shouldn't have in there. So, so I wanted to talk about your website a little bit and take a look at that, and maybe just kind of go over what the goal was with creating that. What made you decide to do that? I'm actually going to pull it up on here on the screen. Maybe.
Sure. Well, it's as I said in the beginning. It was mostly an attempt for me. Oh, so it's sure. Okay, I need to fix that. So so you have the dark mode probably. So it does shows black instead of white.
Oh yeah, I might have.
No, it's
I'm
fine.
not sure. I have a Halo. This is like the green is supposed to be. Master Chief was on there at one point. Now, for some reason, it's just this like poop green with no Master Chief.
Okay. But anyway, it's a cheap version of WordPress that I use in the background. So there's not there's place for customization, but I mostly add new stuff on. I mostly work on adding new article and just the website itself. It's poor and. But anyway, so basically, I just wanted to have a list of all the video game console, and I was not able to find one. So I started making my own, discovering that there was like hundreds of systems that I've never heard about. So I started documenting everything that I could, and after a while, I said, "Well, I'll just like push everything on a website." And that was it. But there's a lot of people, not a lot, but it's still more. There's more people that use it than I thought. Yeah, I thought like that it would be me and two other guy in the world that would use that as a reference. But there's a few people that use it as a tool. So I'm pretty glad that it can help the community preserving stuff. I do spend a lot of time, and it's really for me, right? It's really like my archive of, instead of having like just a Word document, everything that I could find on console, I put it on there. I said everything, but I think I got like 200 posts unpublished because it's mostly bits of information on console that I haven't time to probably format and everything. So there's still a lot of things that are not on there. And I must admit that whenever I find a new console, I don't want to talk about it until I got my hands on it, because there's sometimes so few of them that I don't want to hint any other connector that it might exist, and then having to compete with them on eBay or Yahoo Auction or whatever.
Sure.
So there's quite a few article that I've not published yet because of that. I'm just waiting to get the console, and it's important for me to get a console just to make sure that what I've thought it was, it is really. There's a lot of speculation when you're just reading on stuff on press release and article, but until you get your hand on a console, it's hard to really make your mind on what is it about, what's the good feature, what's the bad feature. So for me, it's really important to get the console I am talking about. So I would say 99% of the console that are on the website, I got them, but there's console that are just too expensive that I don't have.
Yeah, I think that's probably the move. There's a lot of competition online with all that stuff, anything video game related. So I definitely agree. I think
Do you have
Okay.
anything prototype wise or anything like that in the collection?
Yeah, I do. I do have a few. Um, I'm looking at them right now, but you can't see it. I got like the obviously a lot of dev kit. That's more easy to get, but prototype. I got the one for the Game Wave, which is a Canadian console that was like a total flop, but I stumbled at that at some point. Um, I got the
What's up, guys?
prototype for not the prototype, but yeah, you know the Bandai Playdia. I don't know if
Yes.
you're yeah okay. So
Yeah.
before being called the Playdia, it was called the BAX, and it was show at the Tokyo Game Show. So I got the one from the Tokyo Game Show,
Oh wow.
which is called
Nice.
the BAX. So it's the same hardware mostly. They changed the color of the controller, the button of the controller, and stuff like that. But it's mostly the final revision, so not much. Um, and a few other stuff, but it's hard to find prototype. Real prototype are hard to find, and I'm hating myself right now because there was a lot of them when I started collecting, but I thought that they were expensive at the time, and I said, well, no, I won't invest too much in that right now. There's other stuff I wish to do, and now I regret them. Same thing as like TurboGrafx 16. They were cheap when I started collecting them, and I said, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna wait, and now they're just too pricey for me to get the set.
Yeah, I did that too a lot where it was like 10 years ago. I'm like, that is way too expensive. I'll see it again cheaper. And I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
Said the same thing.
Yeah.
So I remember passing brand new. GameStop was clearancing out the 3D monitors. They were all $50. They had 4 of them there, $50. And yeah, that was a regret of mine. I wish I would have grabbed one.
the the Nintendo PlayStation, the prototype that they found, if I remember correctly, it sold for like $22,000.
Yeah.
And like a few years later, with all the craze with Wada and everything else, there's games selling for $1 million, and you got the actual prototype that started Sony PlayStation that sold for 2,200. I mean, it doesn't make any sense in my mind. I'm sure today, if it would be to be sold again, that would be at least 10 times, if not 100 times that price. I mean, for me, it's like a something. It need to be in the it need to be in the museum. It's something so unique and so defining of a company that I still can wrap my head around the fact that it was sold for so cheap. It's very expensive by any mean, but not compared to like Mario that sell for $1,000 still. Then
Yeah. I agree with you. Yep.
Yeah. I know a few years ago I came across a Wonder Swan, and I haven't been able to find one since. But I didn't know anything about them back then. I thought they were just kind of common, and the more and more I researched about them in the last couple of years, it's like I really should have bought that because they had every game with it.
yeah, the Wonder Swan is a great system. I
It
got
is.
the full set, but the original one, the black and white one, was pretty cheap until they released that you could upgrade the screen with the IPS screen, because the ghosting was terrible on the on all those games, and now with the new screen, it's like a new console. And the battery life was so incredible. I think with 2 batteries you could play like for 24 hours straight.
Wow.
1 battery, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's just one. It's an amazing piece of technology. But yeah, if you can grab your end, put your hand on one, it's really good. And even if most games are in Japanese, there's like I made a list, but there's quite a few lists of English-friendly games out there. There's a lot of good games that you could play on that. It's a definite buy.
Yeah, researching for this podcast, I recognized your name, and I couldn't figure out why. But you were on a podcast a while back with Kelsey Lewin.
Yeah.
And she came on my radar because of the Wonder Swan. So anytime she does a video on it, it shows up. And I was like, oh, I've seen this guy before in his collection. So I was really excited to have you on. And that was one of those things that I was like, that was one of the systems that wasn't around here. Don't see them very often. They're real unique. And if I want to know anything about it, where do I go? And your website and your videos, things like that, are where I found it.
Good.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember watching her video about I think it was called the Wonder Witch, maybe, like the
Yep.
development tool that they had. I definitely remember. I have seen actually in person. I almost bought it. It wasn't that long ago. They have like the GPS for the Wonder Swan. Somebody had that new sealed, which is crazy. Like there's all kinds of accessories for the Wonder Swan, just like anything else. So.
Yeah, I think GPS was unreleased though.
Oh, was it? Maybe it wasn't the GPS, and there was something.
There's
I'm
the
not sure.
sonar. They got tons.
Maybe
of,
it was a sonar. Maybe it was a sonar. Yeah, it was some, and it was obviously it was in Japanese, but they had a bunch of the sealed accessories there, and it looked like maybe he had collected like a full set, tried to get all the accessories he could, but it was a vendor that had all of that stuff. There's a lot. There's a lot, just like all the other handhelds. I mean, we were talking about the sonar for the Game Boy, and obviously the sewing machine, and just crazy stuff, man. Crazy, crazy stuff.
Didn't you own the shit machine?
Yeah, yeah. I wish I hadn't sold it, but at the end of the day, the way that I looked at it, it went into something that I wanted more, but also for me, like currently, it doesn't make a lot of sense for certain things to sit. That's a really, really cool piece, and I know someone that has one that will be selling. Doesn't care about hanging on to it. So if I want to grab it again, I will at some point. But it is really cool. It's definitely a crazy cool piece of history. Very, very neat. The carts are wild, and there's cart variants and stuff too, and Chase is talking about the fishing sonar. He asked a little bit ago. He said, with the Switch 2 rumors / info leaks, what are you hoping for the name to be? Well, he says Super Switch.
Super Switch?
The Super Switch. So, I mean, I'm on board for that, but
Nintendo X. Just X.
Just X. Not Twitter, not Nintendo Twitter.
Everybody's just doing the X thing.
No, I if I'm being serious about it though, I think that they're probably going to have a new naming scheme, because I don't think they're going to go down the rabbit hole of the Wii to the Wii U again and have people confused. So I don't think we'll have a letter added onto it. It won't be the Switch X, I don't think. People might get confused. Switch, I'd be fine with Switch 2 as well, but knowing Nintendo, they're not going to call it the Switch 2. It's going to be like the Nintendo Switch Collar, or they should do that, Nintendo Switch Collar. I think that's what they should call it.
HD.
They better be targeting 4K, I would hope, because they're a bit behind the times here. Josh popped in. He says, "Hey, y'all."
I don't know. Either way, when the new Switch does come out, the Switch that we have now is still going to be out for a few more years.
Yeah,
they'll keep pumping them out.
I really hope that it will fix the backward compatibility. I know that they were working on that, but there were some title that was not working, so I'm not sure it was designed to be shipped with or something that they would have later. But I think that for me it's going to be what's going to sell or not, the system. People have a huge collection. I do have a huge collection of Switch games, and I hope that I'll be able to play them. And I've read that they might offer like upgrade, but you need to pay for it. So I've read all kind of rumor on that. But if they have backward compatibility, I'm gonna say it. I think it's gonna be a like day one buy for me, or not, because they're just gonna probably release like one new Mario and remake of all the other games at first, but I'm gonna buy it for sure. I'm a sucker for Nintendo as well.
Yeah, the new Nintendo Switch. I hope they don't do that naming scheme again either, because that was kind of confusing as well for at the end of the day, it needs to make sense for parents that aren't in the gaming. You know what I mean? So that's the way I look at it. It's got to make sense for people that aren't gamers and don't keep up with the news and aren't reading all the articles. And otherwise, it's a complete failure. That was one of the problems with the Wii U. Like, people thought it was a controller upgrade. Like, oh, this is just a controller pad for your Wii. And, like, no, it's a whole new console. And, yeah.
I mean, it's still confusing to people. I mean, when I go to like yard sales, thrips, like they think the Wii U is the Wii. Like it's pretty often.
Yep. Yeah, it's wild stuff. Josh says it better be backwards compatible or it might suffer. I hope that I desperately hope that it is, because I'm going out of my way to collect Switch stuff that I care about. I did pick up a lot of shovelware along the way. Oh, looks like my mic cut out, so you can't hear me.
Yeah, that's a good.
I hear you. Oh well, he went away. So yeah, I don't know if they're going to be able to do the backwards compatibility on the Switch. I almost feel like they, as a company, don't want to, because they'll continue selling Switches.
Yeah,
and I don't feel that they want to stop that anytime soon.
And then they can sell as well, like remake on the whatever name is going to be. But struggling again. Yeah, so I don't know. I truly hope that they do that. But that's just for me, because obviously I'm not gonna sell my Switch as a collector anyway. So I'm gonna have way to play games, Switch games, even if they release a new console that is not backward compatible. But still, I really hope they do. It's gonna be just easier to have in a setup one console that is connected. But if I remember correctly, it was like technical issue. Because the technology has changed so much to be able to be backward compatible. That's what I remember, the problem that were, but I've not read it in a while, so I don't know.
Yeah, there's so many from the 3DS that I would love to figure out a way to get on the Switch. That dual screen or
That's the same thing. They should have used the Wii U to push 3DS games. On the home console, because that's going to be hard to emulate in the future unless you split your actual screen into and have the bottom part. But it's those pieces of hardware that's going to be hard to emulate in the future.
Yeah, that's going to be, when I think backwards compatible, I'm almost thinking not Switch. I'm like, I want even farther back that hasn't been brought. And then maybe they're going to bring the stuff that's currently on the Switch in the future.
Yeah,
but no, Nintendo, it'll probably be digital.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm getting worried about. The next generation being fully digital. At some point, it's going to happen.
Yep.
It's going to be the end of collecting. But I'm really hoping that we could squeeze like one more generation of console with physical media. But I'm really afraid. Maybe the new Switch will be, but I'm really afraid that PS5, like they're gonna release a Pro or something else, and PS6 might be just fully digital.
I think probably what's going to happen. Yeah, 100%. I think that for sure Nintendo is going to have a physical option for this upcoming system, but I think even after this system for them, like it's to all digital after that. I think as far as like a new console coming out, I think whatever the Switch 2 is called, that's probably the last thing that we're getting with a physical, input device. And also we already know that we're getting like the detachable disc drive for like the PS5 and the Series X are both doing that thing. So like if you buy the digital only console and you decide you want physical stuff too, like you can buy the detachable disc drive, and like they're going to probably sell the Pro without a disc drive, like one model Pro, no disc drive. You can buy the external disc drive if you want to. So I think that's the way they're going with that. I 100% believe that too, based on officially knowing that they are doing those disc drives. Like that's probably why they're doing it. So
yeah, and that the worst thing that's the worst thing. But what I'm seeing right now that I'm getting I don't want to say angry, but when there's collector edition, but there's just like the digital code inside. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I want
With a
physical.
steelbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a steelbook.
That's my favorite. It's the collector's edition with a steel book that has a spot for the disc, but there's nothing. It's just a digital code that they.
God of War, Ragnarok was that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot recently. Spider-Man 2 was that way. The collector's edition of that, same thing. Doesn't come with the game.
Baldur's Gate 3. I was disappointed. I switched from when I heard that they did a PS5 version. I switched from PC to PS5 just to have the collector for a gaming console, and then I learned it's just going to be a digital code, so it sucks. I mean, if you're selling a collector edition, it needs to be have a physical release inside.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but hey, at the end of the day, all those collector's editions sell out, so they don't really have to do anything. I mean, they could do this forever, and people are going to buy it. Like they limit these on purpose, these collector's editions, so they sell out, and that's all there is to it. I mean, it's unfortunately, I've kind of sort of accepted the digital only stuff mostly because like the stuff we're getting now, unless it's like from limited run or like one of those specialty boutique type of companies or whatever, the game is not even on the disc or carts anyway. Like you don't even have it on there, so you're getting half the game that may be completely unplayable or like not playable at all. It's a full download disc. So
yeah, people don't realize that right now, but for people that have like Switch, and there's a lot of gameware that are unplayable with the cart if you don't have an internet connection.
Yep.
In the future, when those server will be down, because Switch is kind of old, or it's like 5, 6, 7 years old.
2017, yeah.
So at some point they're gonna disconnect those server, and then people will realize that they didn't own the game that they thought they owned.
Yeah, you're in for a rude awakening, Thomas.
Oh, I know.
You better get all those games updated now and like good to go for the future.
Well, that was one of the reasons. One of the reasons why I liked Limited Run was because they had that forever physical stuff that wasn't going to require, patches, downloads, the internet
until Doom.
Yeah, until about a year or two ago, and I pretty much have checked out since then.
Yeah, no, I was kind of that way as well because, there's a group where they specifically for the Switch, because I was like super heavy into collecting at one point in time for the Switch, a group just for posting about games that are complete on the cart, and that's it. And like going for a full set of that. And there's actually not as many as you would think there are. There's not that many. I mean, until all these companies started doing the Switch stuff, there wasn't many at all. Like retail release games, there's not many, guys. And if you want a game that's like fully playable if I'm not even counting in patches, I'm talking about the game being on there playable at all. But then you count in like the patches where there's like some terrible bugs and like the frame rate's a mess and resolution's terrible. Like it's a struggle to actually be able to just play a game. You can't just pop a game in anymore. That's just not how it is. Like we're past that point in time, and it's a bummer.
And it's funny, as a collector, we always want the first edition. They always worth way more. You got the Zelda misprint with the 2 remotes, so it's the first edition. It's going to sell twice as expensive as the other one. Yep. But the truth is, if I'm going back, because I'm a bit, I love the original Xbox, but if you look, the game that nobody wants are the Platinum hits. Because from a collecting perspective, they're an eyesore. It's like the silver black,
they suck.
All the green. But those are the best version to collect for. They have all the patches. Yep. They often have like resolution update and gaming wise, they are the best the best game to get. So from a gaming perspective, we should be looking. Those were the one that we should be looking for. Those would be the one should be more expensive, but that's not the case.
Or like Game of the Year editions, because that just popped into my head because you're talking about the platinum hits, but also like this one is this is it. Platinum hits Game of the Year edition, but like those typically have like all the DLC like on the disc, which is great. And I mean, it compiles everything. Also, like season pass stuff, that's very common now. Usually, if you wait after that season pass ends, they'll do like a release of it where everything's together and you don't have to buy all the crap. And
I didn't play it yet, but the Zelda Breath of the Wild, there was a season pass.
Yes,
they never released the physical version
in Asia.
In Asia, so I bought the Japanese version with that, but it's still sealed, and I don't want to seal it right now.
So what did you buy it for? All on the card?
It's for future reference for posterities, but yeah. So there's a bunch of those that don't even get released from season pass.
Yeah, there's been a couple of times where I've seen the games where they come out and they're like $40-$50, and then they have 5 or 6 downloadable contents that come out that adds another $100, but then they release that game on the Switch all in one for $39.99.
Yeah.
So I always feel bad, and I'm like, I just have $70 in this game, and I could have just waited. I got it for $30 or $40.
Yep. One of the reasons I've waited, well, I guess sort of one of the reasons, like with Street Fighter 6, I've waited a little bit with that. I see. Here's the thing with new games, I just got to be more selective. I can only, I can't pick up everything, and I don't have the time to play everything anyway. So, like, there's been stuff this year I've just said, hey, I really want to play, but I'm waiting. Final Fantasy 16 is a big one, and Street Fighter 6. Although I will say, I was going to do the same with Mortal Kombat 1. I might have to pick that up. That game looks so good. So good. And I'm more of a Street Fighter fan, too, which is kind of the crazy thing, but that game just looks phenomenal.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, is there anything else you wanted to plug? Do you got anything coming up that you're working on? Maybe an arc when it's coming up? Or
Well, there's a ton. I must admit I have not been very present in the either the website or social media, and like for the summer I decided to take a break. I started to do it's more for my own inventory, but like one console a day I was posting on Twitter. I did that for like 6 months.
I saw that.
And I just stopped because I wanted to take a break during the summer. So I think just trying to restart the machine and be more constant is going to be my my resolution till the end of the year. So no, I don't have any. I do have a few article, but I don't want to talk about it because obviously stuff that I'm still waiting to find on eBay or Yahoo auction. But nothing life-changing happening with the video game Kraken in the near future. But I hope to be able to find new stuff and post new stuff. So at least I'll restart posting on I'm gonna say Twitter, but on X and Threads and all that stuff in the near future. I just ended my summer vacation today, so I should restart in a few days.
Sweet. Yeah, that sounds great. Well, I mean, I'm glad that you're wanting to get back into it because I love seeing the things that you post and do, and I was following, the post a day stuff. So that's awesome. We appreciate having you on, and of course, we've got like all your stuff below in the description. And everybody, please go give him a follow, subscribe, all that awesome stuff. And we will see you guys again next Sunday. Have a great day, guys.